Alrighty, so today we're going to be taking a look at my revised levels for the Portal 2 assignment, for part 2 of this assignment. So basically what it was we had to take our initially made levels and revise them to kind of cut down the mechanic a little bit, simplify it a little bit, and remove any extra elements that are kind of redundant. Basically rework the levels a little bit so they still have similar progression, but are a little bit easier to run through and a little bit more simple mechanically. So for this level, it's very, very similar to how it was initially. However, if compared to the other one, you'll notice that there's no button sitting here anymore. Instead, you're just given the cube and the laser right off the bat with nothing else. So you would go up, you're going to grab the cube, and you're going to be like, okay, well, point the cube in the laser. Oh, it does the thing where it points the laser around. So you're just going to kind of aim it into there. So basically, it still introduces the player to how the lasers and the cubes work, but removes any of the extra stuff with placing the cube on a button while activating the laser. So that'll be the first test chamber done. And I'll be back in just a moment with Chamber 2. Alrighty, so here we are in the second chamber of 4. So this one, just like the last one, is again going to be very similar to the older version, with the most notable difference being that instead of having the glass and the death pit here, instead it's just open room with the nodes and the cube and the emitter. So when you're walking into this room, chances are you're probably going to gravitate towards the one thing that it's clear you can do, which is hit the button. You might go try to grab the cube, move it around, etc. But hitting the button will kick on the laser beam, and you'll also notice that, okay, it dissolved the cube. So, it wouldn't be too far of a stretch to think that players would then have the association of, okay, sometimes the buttons can activate the lasers as well as other stuff. Anything that's connected to the laser can cause it to turn on. And you'll also notice, okay, hitting a button that's connected to a dropper dissolves an old cube drops a new one. So, you're going to want to aim it around a little bit, probably aim it towards there, and you'll notice that it activates these pylons, which activate various things up there. So you go, okay, so I can aim the laser through these pylons into the receptacle, and this activates all 3 things at once. So good to know, pylons and receptacles, kind of expanding upon manipulating the laser a little bit without going too crazy in what you can actually do. And this kind of better introduces the third level, which had to be reworked a little bit, but not too drastically. But it just kind of introduces the player a little bit earlier on to using the buttons to dissolve the cube, and using cube placement to activate multiple things simultaneously with a single laser. So now we're going to go on to the third test chamber, and we'll show what's different with that one. Alrighty, so here we are onto the third test chamber. So this one is pretty significantly changed from how it was initially. At first glance, it's going to seem pretty similar, with the cube dropping into the death water, the laser activating the receptacle there with the pylons there. So, it's this part of the test is basically the same resolution as how it was before, as our assignment wasn't necessarily to rebuild the tests completely, but to rework them to simplify it a little bit. So, as much as possible, our goal was to try to retain original level or chamber layouts and designs, and while still being able to pare down and clear the assignment criteria. So this part, exact same as before. Activate the cones to clear the wall and bring up the stairs. And then same thing, you go, okay, well, I've got a button here. Last chamber, I saw that buttons can destroy cubes. Hit the button and it's like, okay, it destroys the cube. Now up here is where the most obvious change is going to be. As opposed to having the light bridge that started over there with the button, and there was a small button here that you could hit to activate the light bridge and go grab the cube. Instead, it's just the beam, the receptacle, and the now dropping cube. So, you go, okay, well I can walk on this glass stuff, so I'm going to walk all the way up and just grab the cube like before. And then just aim it in the hole. So it's basically just a little bit simpler than the older iteration of this test to remove any extraneous mechanics, and also just have a little bit smoother and simpler of a progression for newer players. So now we're going to go on to the fourth and final chamber, which is pretty drastically redesigned while still keeping the same base test layout. So I'll be back in just a moment. And now we are on to the fourth and final test chamber for the assignment. So this one is the one that's going to have the most drastic changes to it, as all the button stuff had to be completely removed, and most of the chamber had to be reworked in order to accommodate the removal of the buttons. So, in essence, it's still the same base way to solve the puzzle, where your objective is to activate that laser receptacle there to open the door, and this one to bring up the stairs simultaneously. But even just from that, you'll already notice something a little different, which is if you follow the little antline trails, you'll see that the one activates the stairs, same as before. This one goes over to that laser emitter. So you go, okay, so I'm going to need to have this receptacle activated to turn on this laser beam so I can aim it into there. So you go, okay, well, if I can't activate that and have the door open and etc., I could try going up these stairs, but there's a laser death wall, I can't get over there. So I'm going to try the only other thing I can do, which is activating here. Okay, brings up the death wall, brings up the stairs. Basically the same thing as before. So you come up, you hit the button, dissolves the cube but brings down the wall, and you're like, okay, great. So you're going to come over and you're going to go, okay, got a cube over here. And you'll notice there's no longer a button in like the emancipation grids over there. Instead, it's a receptacle. So what someone might do is they'll kind of grab the cube, aim it in, go, okay, what does that do? Well, that activates the thing. And the thing over there just needs to be activated, and then it emits the laser. But because it is just off of the hole, if you were to try to redirect the laser to go into there to activate this, well, now you've got a laser being emitted, but you can't really do anything with it, because the second you move this laser, it's going to shut off, and the second you move this one, it's going to shut off. So you go, okay, I need a third cube, for sure. So you're going to look at, okay, well, there's the laser wall there to the one other cube that I know of. There's the receptacle for that. They're both marked with the same icon. So if I just grab that, aim it there, boom, laser wall is down. So you're going to be like, okay, laser wall is down. Great, I can grab the cube. Once it drops, you grab the cube. Now the other big notable difference is beforehand there was a button here. This button would bring down the emancipation grid so that you could place the cube on the button over there, and that would be one half to activate this, with the other half being where that cube over there is placed. That was activating it to turn this on as well. However, probably going to notice you can't really do that right now. So instead, I'll probably go, well, now I have 3 cubes. Put one in there. That activates that. I can't activate this yet, though, because the laser's going into there. So, in order to be able to get up there to adjust the cube, either you'll grab this one or use the other one. Pretty interchangeable. Activate the pylon. You can go up and grab the cube. So, you could choose to, if you really wanted to, take that down, brings the laser wall down, you could move the cube somewhere in there. Or, which is a little bit easier and faster, you just aim it in that receptacle. Now, you come down here and remove this, it activates that laser. And now you've got a spare cube that you can just use to aim it over here. And boom! There you go. Now it's, now the door's open and the stairs are up. So this level, at first glance, is going to be pretty similar to how it was initially, with the same end goal, same kind of method of go up there, grab the cube, to then get in there, to grab the other cube, to then activate that receptacle and the other one at the same time to give you a second laser beam, which you can then aim there and there to get the door and the stairs open. The biggest difference is obviously with the removal of the buttons. You can't just... I had to change the layout a little bit so that you could still get everything activated without needing to set stuff on a button. And in a sense, this is a little bit better because it really takes that laser redirection mechanic and tests not only if you understand redirecting things to multiple receptacles at different times to get to certain areas in the chamber, but also that you can aim multiple things simultaneously in different directions to have multiple things activated at one time. So with this one, it's just reworked a little bit different to focus a lot more on that laser mechanic. But I think it does make the chamber a little bit more focused, a little bit better, a little bit simpler, but since it's set to be the first handful of chambers, you wouldn't want to get necessarily too complicated with this. So then if you were to learn other mechanics, such as placing stuff on buttons throughout the game, eventually you would want to do other test chambers that would be a lot more complex, that would use what you're learning here plus what you learn throughout the rest of the game to really make a complex and interesting puzzle. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this. Not a whole lot to say, as I don't need to go through like building the chamber and every little thing. Mostly just looking at how I redesigned those chambers to be a little bit better suited and a little bit more focused. So that's my playthrough of the levels, and thank you for watching.